Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm Sam. I am a pastor. I've been a pastor for 22 years. I am a biblical studies student. I write. If you want to read my writings, they're on samburke.org. You can go there and check them out. My training involves biblical studies, theology, and biblical languages. I'm going to talk about a question I get often. And that question is, okay, so Sam, I want to know more about church history. I would love to dive into the world of the church fathers, all that kind of stuff. How do I get more informed about what went on in all of church history and what led up to the church today? So people ask questions, even at church, they're like, well, what came before all this and how do we know and all that kind of stuff. And so I have a few book recommendations that I would love to give you. I also want to give you something you may not know is available to you for free that you can go to. That'll be awesome. But let me give you a little story, history of my take with church history. Okay, so I've said on many times on this channel, I grew up at an independent fundamentalist Baptist church. And that church, and I think a lot of that church, the strain of that church, really cares very little about church history. Basically, whatever they're doing is church history, and they don't really lean in a lot. They couldn't care less about what happened in the past and all that kind of stuff. They care about the King James Bible and their interpretation of it. And so all growing up, I knew very little about church fathers, church history, any of that kind of stuff. I knew about the fact that under Constantine, the church Christianity became the official religion of Rome. And I knew the only thing I knew about Augustine was he stole some pears, because they told that story and thought that was funny. Didn't really share why he went into such a big deal about it, and the book Confessions, all that kind of stuff. And I did not know even a lot of the names of church fathers and what their contributions were. Didn't know about the councils, none of that stuff. We were taught about Martin Luther, but from a very kind of an anachronistic kind of look at it. He was the one who told us that the Roman Church, the Catholic Church, was wrong, kind of a deal. And I was like, okay, so I didn't really know a lot about church history until I did my first undergrad at William Jessup University. I started my first undergrad there, and I was introduced to some of these concepts about church history that I was like, what? I had no idea about. And then I left from there and I went to another school called Clarks Summit University and learned a little more, but from a very Baptistic kind of view. But it wasn't until 10-ish years ago that I did my own journey on this. I was like, you know what? I want to know more about this because I want to know the history of the church. I want to know what was really what the church fathers were really all about, what they were really talking about, what was theology back then, why did certain things get decided on and certain things other things not. I wanted to do a deep dive into it. And so I started reading the church fathers. That's what I did. And I found something kind of cool that is very helpful. There is a website called LibriVox, LibriVox, and they have a lot of audiobooks of the public domain books. All of their books are in the public domain, and they have a lot of audiobooks to read. And they have so many audiobooks on church history, the church fathers. You just need to look them up. I was able to read through a lot of Augustine's stuff, a lot of the, Eusebius's history of the church. I'll kind of show some of that on here where you can go to find that. But it's all right there, and it's all free. And so if you don't have the time to go buy these books and read through them, LibriVox has a lot of them for free online, and you can read them there. If you have certain audio player apps on your phone, you can listen to them and find the books there. I have two. I have a thing called Libby, which is audiobook library kind of stuff, and you have to use your library card, and you can find some of those there. They're not a lot of them are on that or on Audible, but they are on LibriVox. And if you go to LibriVox, you can read them and listen to them there, and it's a really great resource. A couple other books that I would recommend if you want to dive into the history side of church history. This one here, I just got it, and I've been thumbing my way through it, but I think this is an excellent resource. It's by a guy named Jeremy McCulloch, and it's called Christianity, the First 3,000 Years. This is a thick book, okay? This is not a thin book. And it is from a historian's perspective on Christianity. And this book has been touted by a lot of scholars as this is like the definitive, like, historical take on Christianity. It's not slanted one way or another. It's not, Catholic or Protestant. It's just from an outside historical perspective on what is going on from there, from the first century all the way up through here. There's a couple other books that I would recommend. It's a 2-set volume by a guy named Justo Gonzalez. It's called The Story of Christianity, and there's volume 1 and volume 2. Volume 1 goes from the first century all the way up to the Reformation, and volume 2 is the Reformation to the present day. I'm actually taking a church history class this semester, and we're using both of those books as the main source material for the class. So I'll be able to tell you about them after I read them, but I would recommend, after just skimming a couple of them from a Protestant perspective, so if you want to see through the lens of maybe someone who is more Protestant, church history and what it looks like through those lenses, those two books would be that. The other one is the Christianity book by McCulloch. That's more of an outside historical perspective. And then, like I said, you can go on LibriVox and you can find all kinds of books that are translations of books from, church history, ancient church, church fathers, all that kind of stuff, that are read audiobook, and that's an excellent resource. So if you want to dive more into church history, I would suggest doing that. It was very, very eye-opening and enlightening, and I've been able to use a lot of that in just everyday conversation with people who are pretty misinformed about what church history is all about. Especially in the evangelical world, there's not a lot of people who are well-informed about church history, and it would be eye-opening and enlightening for people to understand why certain things are the way they are, why Protestants are the way they are, why Catholics are the way they are, if we just understood church history a little bit better. So that's a good starting point. Hopefully this was helpful for you. Hope you had a Merry Christmas and have a wonderful, awesome, happy New Year. I'll see you in the new year, and I'll see you in the next video.